My name's Tameera, and I'm a third-year Actuarial Science student at City University of London. To start off with, I'll talk about the main topic that all budding Actuarial Science students want to hear about, the exemptions. At City, you can get the first 6 core principles, so that's your CS1, CS2, CM1, CM2, CB1 and CB2. And you'll sit them across the 3 years of your degree. So now I'll talk about the structure of your exemption subjects and how you actually get the exemptions. So in your first year, it's about building a strong base in statistics, finance, and economics. That being said, you'll sit the first part of your CM1 exemption, the financial maths part, where you'll learn a lot about interest rates, pricing fixed income instruments, and annuities as well. It introduces some fun actuarial notation. You'll also sit the first part of your CS1 exam and all of your CB2 exams. So that's your business economics exam. So CS1 and CB2 might have some overlapping content from your A-levels, but if you didn't sit A-level economics, don't worry about it. I didn't sit it either, and it's literally taught as though you're brand new to economics, so you don't need to worry about people being ahead of you or if you'll do as well as the rest of the class or anything like that. You'll definitely pick it up. In second year, you build on the topics that you study in first year, and it also gets a bit more actuarial. So for example, you'll start looking at contingencies, which is where you'll be introduced to mortality and how actual insurance companies price things like premiums and how they test for profit as well. You'll also look at more in-depth probability theory in your modules, like the second half of your CS1 module and also in the parts of your CS2 modules. So for example, stochastic models. And you'll also sit your CB1 exemption. So that'll be your finance and financial reporting module. And it will have different things that you didn't know that actuaries had to know. For example, like accounting and things like that. And it actually really builds on all of the business and all of the finance that you learn in your first year. So it's quite an interesting module. And then in your third year, you'll be finishing off your exemptions and learning about more diverse parts of actuarial work as well. For example, you can sit a general insurance module, but I'll talk about the accompanying modules on our degree a bit later. You get your exemptions in 2 ways. So, for example, for your CS1 exam, you'll sit half of that in first year and half of that in second year. And then your grade for your CS1 then will be an average of the grade that you got in those 2 exams. And if that's higher than a certain threshold, they say typically around 65%, then you'll get an email confirmation that you've gotten that exemption. But for instance, if you didn't hit that 65%, you still have a chance to get your exemption because all of your actuarial modules, or your exemption modules, I should really say, are averaged in your final year. So after you sat everything, you'll get an average grade for all of your exemption modules. And if that's above a certain threshold, you'll get all of your exemptions anyways. So that's really good second chance if you struggled with one of the modules in particular. So now I'll talk more about the accompanying modules that really help you to be more rounded as an actuarial student and really stick out when it comes to interviews and assessment centers. And they'll also really help to shape what type of path it is that you want to take. Like, you'll get a good foundation in quite a few different topics that actuaries will work in, and it'll just really help you to know what you're interested in. So for example, in first year, you'll have, as a core module, you'll have IT, and in that you'll learn about Excel, different statistical packages, and you'll learn about Visual Basic as well. So that's a bit of coding, and that is really desirable to employers because a lot of people don't necessarily have those skills when they finish uni, but you'll have learned them in your first year and you'll use them throughout as well. So you'll be really seasoned in it by the time that you're finished. When it comes to your elective modules, you'll get to choose some electives in second year and quite a few of them in third year. And those kind of, I would say, have 2 types of paths. So the first would be a more pure maths route if you were to take, for instance, operational research. And then the second is kind of a more financial route, and there's quite a few of those financial modules. For example, risk analysis and modeling in your second year, or in your third year, you can take asset liability management, fixed income portfolio management. These are what I took. But in the more pure mathsy route as well, you can also take extreme event statistics, which I also took. So I guess I'm a bit of a mixture of finance and pure maths. But all of those modules are really interesting because you'll find that they have a bit of overlap with the financial maths that you've learned in your actuarial exams, but you may not necessarily recognize them. And that's because actuarial notation and names of different instruments might be slightly different to what the more pure finance industry call them. So I would say that these modules are really good for you to take especially if you're interested in going more of a financial actuary route. Say, for instance, if you wanted to go into looking about how insurance companies should make their investments, it'll be really good for you to take those accompanying financial modules, because it'll help you to be able to have good conversations with people who haven't necessarily studied actuarial science, but they are in the finance world. The lecturers for all of these modules, the actuarial ones and the more finance and pure maths modules that you sit, are really good as well, because a lot of them have industry experience. So that means that in their lectures, they'll talk to you about the finance, and they'll show you how to answer questions if they're maths, or show you the kind of structure of how answers are built up for the types of questions that you'll have in exams. But then they'll also tell you about industry and their experience with those topics, and for example, where they can, they'll even give you examples of what they did or when they've applied those subjects. So it's really quite interesting to hear, and it lets you know about what you'll actually be doing on a day-to-day basis if you were to go into a job, for example, asset liability management. So outside of academics, there's quite a lot of other things to get down to at City as well. So for example, the societies, there are so many of them and they just cover so many different things. So there's more like industry-based ones, like the Society of Actuaries. There's a lot of really good cultural ones as well, which are so fun to take part in. And then there's loads that are just for fun, like Game Society, for example. So I'll talk about the ones that I'm the most involved in / have taken part in. So the Society of Actuaries here is really phenomenal because we have such regular events, like every week or every other week. We have actuaries who come in and talk to us about quite a lot of things, actually. They'll talk about the exams and their experience sitting them. They'll talk about how they got to where they are, and then they'll give a lot of information as well on hot topics in the actuarial world, which are really good for helping with interviews and even helping with deciding what you want to go into and what you want to write about in your final year project. And they also just tell you about what they do on a day-to-day basis. It's really good. It's just really just a fascinating insight, I would say. And the actuaries that we get in as well are so brilliant because they talk to you afterwards. Like, they don't have to rush off or anything. They're there for networking, and you can literally ask them anything at all that you want to. And they'll just give such good advice, and it's all first-hand experience as well. So it's just really phenomenal. And they'll even dare to add you on LinkedIn and things like that, so you can message them afterwards and just get more tips and more advice and just get to know them sometimes as well. So it's really good. And then the Game Society as well is something that I take part in, and that's just so fun. Like the interest-based societies here are so fun, and they're such a good way to learn about different people and meet different people on different courses. So it's just a great place to make loads of friends. So like the Games Society, for instance, you can just bring anything that you want to play, and there's always going to be someone there who's like, yeah, like let's play that on the Xbox or on the PS4. Or even if you want to bring like just cards, play card games, and bring board games as well, there's always someone there to play with, or a group of people there to play with, and everyone's just so open and just so fun to being a part of it. So it's just really great taking part in the societies at City, because all of them are so unique and so different and bring so many different things and just help you out in so many different ways as well. You just meet like fantastic people. So I hope you've enjoyed this little insight into actuarial science and studying at City. And I just wish you the best of luck in making your university decisions, and I hope that you'll choose to join us here at City University of London.